extremely well this evening, and I hope you're in the mood for some creepy Reddit encounters. Now, tonight's theme is going to be hotel horror stories. Now, I'm going to keep this short, so with that being said, and of course, as always, without any further ado, let's get into tonight's stories, shall we? Alrighty, so the first story that I've got for you this evening was originally posted by a Reddit user called shuddering-shannon. Their story is called Hidden Camera in the Hotel I Was Showering In. I mean, that already sounds incredibly disturbing, doesn't it? So, my stupid brand new water heater broke down from all the calcium and things in the water, and so we rented a hotel room so we could get a shower. My husband and teenage daughters had gone first. Now, while they took their shower, I'd already been looking for cameras after shows and articles depicting warnings to check had me freaked out. This is probably a true crime enthusiast, because I've seen things like that in documentaries and true crime podcasts and that. But anyways, my husband had laughed at me, so I thought I was being a bit silly, and I genuinely thought that we were safe. It wasn't until I was actually standing inside the shower that I saw the camera. You had to see it from a certain angle, wrapped around the light that had a cover over the bottom of it, but an opening all the way around the edges in the middle. I looked up and there it was. I clearly saw the glare of a camera lens. I screamed and my husband came in running. I told him what was wrong and where the camera was, and he checked, and sure enough, he took the bottom cover off of the light fixture and the camera fell down, and it was actually wired to the light and set to sit and point looking down into the shower. That is disgusting. My husband ripped it out and marched straight to the office, and from there a fight ensued. The owner of the hotel was a really creepy guy, and when my husband confronted him about the camera, he got really pissed off, saying that my husband was destroying his hotel room, and he proceeded to call the cops. Now, my husband is quite hot-headed when he's on a moral mission, and he grabbed the guy up by the scruff of the collar. Now, I don't know if that was necessary, but unless the guy was trying to flee, I don't see how that would be necessary at all. By all means get mad, because that is some seriously fucked up shit to have a camera hidden in a hotel bathroom. Anyways, my husband's mentality was that if I'm going to jail, I'm going to make it worth my while. But the guy's wife came out, and by then I was dressed and I had joined the conversation, and I was there for backup. Now, the wife wanted to know what was happening, so I told her what happened. She said, "Wait right here." Now, she went in the back and came back with a knife from her room. Okay, and she was chasing the owner around with it, so I'm assuming that's her husband. So what, she was just like, hold on, let me just quickly go and kill him. What? undressing in a hotel. This is actually a really good tip because I've got to admit, I've read about that kind of stuff like hidden cameras, two-way mirrors. I've read about it, I've heard about it, I've seen about it, but I have never personally thought to check for that kind of stuff. Whenever, you go on holiday and you go to a hotel, or you rent a flat to stay in, or you rent a house to stay in, I have never actually thought of checking any of that stuff. But maybe I should. Maybe I should start looking for hidden cameras, or like two-way mirrors or something. Now I take it you know how to check for a two-way mirror, right? You just hold your finger to the glass, like you touch it, and if your fingertip and your reflection's fingertip touch, that's a two-way mirror. If there's a gap in between, it's a regular mirror and you're safe. See, I know how to do this stuff, but I just, for some reason, never thought of actually checking. Now, there was somebody in the comments who said that as a teenager, their family had rented a house for a holiday, and they said that it was really weird that there was a mirror in the shower, which is weird, like in the shower. I've never seen anything like that. But then they discovered a peephole as well elsewhere in the house, and basically a hidden room behind a bookcase. So you know what's been going on there, right? And it is incredibly effed up. Like, this is the kind of thing that you see in movies, or like, documentaries, or like true crime, but you never really think that it's actually gonna happen to you. Wow. I'm really gonna have to start checking this kind of thing, because this is honestly disturbing. I can imagine that the owner was put away for quite a long time, especially because the Redditor mentioned that she had teenage daughters, especially if he had footage of minors in his little disgusting collection. I mean, they're gonna have to put him away for a very long time, aren't they? And they aren't gonna be kind to him in prison either. But good, it's what he deserves. Alrighty, so moving on to the next one. This story was originally posted by a Reddit user called Bookish-Broad. Their story is called "Woke up in my hotel room to a man standing over me as I lay in bed, asleep." Wow. This was in Atlanta in 2005-ish. My best friend was in town and she was able to get us a nice hotel room near bars. Now, this was pre-Uber and Lyft, obviously, so it was important for a girls' weekend, or whatever it was, to be close to the bars and the pubs. Now, we got back to the hotel late, but before midnight, and we were intoxicated, but not blackout drunk or anything like that. We got ready for bed, and in reservation, and we didn't bother to update it upon check-in. Several hours later, I woke up bleary-eyed and saw a tall man just staring at us, and in my stupor, calmly asked, "What are you doing here?" My friend then woke up at the sound of my voice and asked what was going on. Now this guy who was stood there in our room next to our bed staring at us seemed frozen, like a deer in headlights. He told us that he was hotel security. Yeah, a likely story. And there had been a report of a disturbance, and he was here to ask us to quiet down. Yeah, I'm sure then you would just randomly come in without permission and stand next to the bed with girls sleeping in it. I'm sure that's what you do. I'm sure that's protocol. Confused, we told him that we had been asleep for hours, and he told us okay and to have a good night. He left out the door and we went right back to sleep. See, there is no way in hell that I would be able to sleep after that. I would be so extremely unsettled, uncomfortable, disturbed that I would not physically be able to go back to sleep. Now the next morning we went down to talk to management because, as we discussed, we realised that what happened was very strange. Now management talked to my friend and then called someone more senior to talk to her. I was on the phone watching from across the room. As they brought out the second person and they spoke to my friend, she became white as a sheet. They had no on-site security team. It didn't exist, and no one had called in any disturbances the night before. I mean, that's not a very big surprise, is it? Now they immediately moved us to a different room and upgraded the rest of our stay. To this day, I wonder if maybe that room was targeted because it was only supposed to have one woman in there at the time, and when the person saw the two of us, they panicked and decided not to move forward. I also wonder what would have happened if our reaction was not tempered by alcohol and a dreaming state. If we had screamed, would that have triggered something more sinister? I mean, honestly, and this is no offense to the Redditor or a friend, obviously, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that that guy was not hotel staff. I don't think, unless there is an emergency and they think you are in danger or your life is in danger, I don't think they're just allowed to open your hotel room door and just come in unannounced. I don't think that's a thing. So yeah, that was obviously not hotel staff. They also just wouldn't come in if they were like they had been asleep. Clearly there weren't any disturbances, and clearly there wasn't a pressing issue that required the attention of security staff. So, I mean, clearly that guy had bad intentions, and I do think that he was caught off guard by the fact that there was more than one person in the room. But it's an interesting approach to the situation, isn't it? Because how would this guy have known that there was one female in that room unless he had access to like the bookings and stuff? So unless he was actually hotel staff, that's just what I wonder, like, because you can't even say that, oh, maybe he had seen one girl on her own go into that room or disturbing. I mean, it is weird, isn't it? Wow. Like the Redditor said, I wonder what would have happened if they had screamed or something. I bet he wouldn't have tried to weasel his way out of it by saying it was hotel security. Because, you don't expect such an extreme reaction if you think your target is asleep. Wow. It's a bit of a shame that we don't find out if they ever found this guy, if they ever caught him, because, he did something illegal. It doesn't matter what his intentions were, we can only speculate. But by entering that room without permission, unannounced, and creepily standing next to their bed and staring at them, I'm pretty certain he's already broken the law. I'm pretty certain that's already quite enough to put him away. I do hope that they found him, because this is obviously the kind of person who would do that kind of thing again, so somebody else could potentially become one of his victims. Wow. Well, I am pleased to say that I have no hotel room creepy encounters. I've never stayed at a dodgy hotel, and I've never experienced anything like this in a hotel room, so I'm really lucky in that aspect. Wow. Alright, moving on to the next story, which was originally posted by a Redditor called Feralmoonlight. Their story is called My Encounter with a Very Creepy Animation Team Member at a Resort. This happened when I was on holiday in Turkey back when I was 13 years old. I'm 27 now. My mother took me and my 3 younger brothers, I'm the only girl, on an all-in 2-week holiday during summer break. Now we were very excited because the hotel had a big water park on site with lots of different slides that we would go on. They also had a pool animation team that did games, etc. with the hotel guests. One of them was a very creepy guy, about late 20s, I think, who would chase after girls, never really doing anything serious, but just kind of trying to flirt with them and following them around. Now, most of the girls would shoo him away and he would actually stop. He really gave me a bad vibe though. Now I need to mention that I have autism, which at that point was still undiagnosed, and I had no clue how to socially interact with people, and I was too insecure to say no. See, this is really common in, young people, not only girls, but girls are confronted with these situations a bit more often than boys. But it is really, really common to be scared to say no, to be scared to offend. And I can imagine that if you have autism, that is even more difficult because of the lack of insight in social interactions and just struggling with that. So I can imagine that makes it a lot harder. Now, this creep got on really fast and he began following me around as well, and I was too scared to tell him to leave me alone. He was very friendly with me in the creepy sort of way, and I tried to avoid him as much as possible. As the days went by, he started to get more clingy, and he would hug me out of nowhere. That is a big no-no. That is a big, big, big nope. Wow. Consent is key here. Now, this caused me to freak out and freeze. Now, one day he actually gestured for me to come with him, and me being scared and too insecure to say no, I actually went with him. He led me into a small building somewhere behind the hotel, probably like a staff room or something, and he shut the door. He gestured for me to sit down, and he went to sit next to me, putting an arm around me. I froze. He then kissed me on the cheek and asked, "Okay?" As if to ask if it was okay, like... No, I didn't respond. I couldn't respond. He continued to touch and kiss me when I noticed a mattress in the corner of the room. I panicked, realizing what this guy was intending to do, and I broke out of my frozen state, thankfully, saying no, 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 and made my way to the door, which thankfully was unlocked. I ran back and went straight to my mum, explaining what had happened, and as that creep came back, she went off on him. He feigned ignorance and apparently went on about how he hoped that I would join their animation team. He did stop harassing me after this, luckily. At the end of our holiday, another member of the animation team, who was not a creep, walked up to me and asked me if I wanted to stay and join them. I said no thanks, I'm 13 and I want to finish school first. He looked at me quite in shock and said, "What? We thought you were like 18 or 19. I later saw him talking to the creep, who also looked at me in shock. I don't know if my mum said anything to the hotel at all, but all I know is that I never want to meet that creep ever again." Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with like a hotel animation team, so basically my parents never really took me and my sisters on holidays, and we were lucky enough to go on holiday with my nan a few times, and my nan always booked those, all-inclusive resort kind of places. And it's convenient when you have kids because they provide activities for the kids, and that's why they have an animation team. So they'll, like I said, they'll take care of fun activities for the kids to do. It'll be like fun games and like dances and like certain games in the swimming pool and stuff, and it is to give the parents a bit of peace of mind and allow the parents to also kind of relax a bit while the kids are doing all the activities. So I understand the mum not being around to see that her daughter was being led away. This happened in the early 2000s and, different times. But anyways, this is not the mum's fault, is what I'm trying to say. This is all creepy dude's fault. And also, apparently, this is something that actually happens, that they'll try to recruit tourists who visit the hotel as guests to join their animation team, because I personally know someone who got recruited, and she actually decided to stay there, which, to each their own, but that's actually a thing that happened. But what doesn't happen is fully grown adults leading 13-year-old children into back rooms I'm assuming that the mum didn't complain to the hotel at all, because this story would have ended with, and the guy immediately lost his job, which is what he should have gotten. Like, this is insane. I can also imagine how this would be an incredibly traumatic experience, especially because the Redditor tended to freeze up in just social situations in general, let alone creepy ones like these. Like, that must have been incredibly traumatizing. I'm really glad that the Redditor wasn't like sexually assaulted or anything. Like, I'm glad things didn't go any further and she did manage to muster up the courage to escape and run away from that room, and thank God the door was unlocked. But I can see how that would definitely leave a lasting impression on someone. This is wild. Now, the good news is that I think we have time for one more, so we'll be doing 4 stories in a creepy, scary stories video. Alrighty, are you ready for the next one? Alright, so this story is a little bit different. It's still a hotel horror story, don't get me wrong, but it is from somebody who was working at a hotel. So I guess this could have also been a perfect fit for last week's video with our creepy co-workers. So here goes. This one was originally posted by a Reddit user called going_through_a_phase. Their story is called Don't Smell Me or You'll Get Fired. This happened around 2015 when I was working in a cute, fancy little boutique hotel. There were 6 substantial rooms and often had big names stay at the hotel. I worked doing a bit of everything: guest assistance, reception, service in the restaurant, drinks, whatever was needed really. One of the line cooks was from Eastern Europe. He was in his mid-40s and he worked there full time. He was always overly friendly with me, to the point of making me feel extremely uncomfortable. He commented on how I looked, staring too long, standing too close, touching me when the opportunity arose, just on the arms, on my back, on my shoulder, with a palm. Nothing overly outrageous, but there was just a creepy feel about it. To paint you a picture, I'm 5'2" and slight build. This guy was tall, about 6'5", and had a broad, strong build. He looked like he worked out. English was his second language, but he spoke it fluently. Often he would stand close to me or stand between me and my exit when an opportunity presented itself, and he gave me compliments, staring at my chest and saying, "Wow, you're good. Guys must love you. You're so beautiful. I love your legs in the uniform. You should always wear a skirt with those legs," etc. Making me super uncomfortable. I mean, that would make anyone super uncomfortable. Like, those are not compliments, those are just plain creepy statements, right? I wouldn't want to receive those comments from anyone, because that would just make me feel plain uncomfortable. Like, I would not feel flattered. Now, he was also a born-again Christian and loved to recite random was wondering when it was coming, so there it is. And he was staring at me with his head tilted down. It was full on weird. This guy had done some fucked up shit. I knew it. I have zero evidence of it other than he just gave me those vibes. Anyways, I went on holiday for a few weeks, and on my first shift back, I'm setting up the restaurant for the evening dinner shift, and he shows up to work his shift. He comes up behind me, and with his mouth and nose pressed against my neck, and I could feel his warm and icky breath, he breathed me in, like smelled and inhaled me and said, I've missed your smell. It was absolutely gross. All I could do was just give him a weird, awkward smile and just run away. I went down to the office to take a second to chill. My manager was in there at the time and he asked me what was up. I told him what had happened but said that it wasn't a big deal, that I was fine and just wanted a second to chill. It was like, no. He went up to the kitchen and fired his fucking ass on the spot. He came back and told me that I had nothing more to worry about. That was it. Never saw him again. I did kind of fear that he was going to come back to try and get back at me or something, but nope. That was really a good shift that night. It felt great to see my boss stick up for me like that. Fuck yeah, to good bosses. Don't get me wrong, I love that this story has a happy ending. I love that the manager stuck up for this Redditor because, that isn't always the obvious thing to do, apparently, for managers, for bosses. So when you do get like a good boss, that is really uplifting, and you feel like you're being taken seriously and that you're being supported. So that is awesome. Like, he totally deserved to be fired on the spot for that. He literally pressed his nose and mouth against the Redditor's neck and sniffed and breathed her in. That is disgusting. I would say that is even more creepy than when that guy at the train station told me that he thought I smelled like a teacher. Like, this is on a whole nother level. That is wild. I've missed your smell though. Ew. Just ew. Wow. That is wild. Like, this, some people, I really don't understand where these people get the audacity from to just push up against other people, to literally bury their face into somebody else's neck. Like, where do you get the audacity from? And then I'm not even talking about the really creepy and disgusting comments about the Redditor's body and her smell. Seriously, her smell. I mean, good riddance. Good riddance. I'm really glad the story ended like this, because this could have escalated. It's also really sad that the Redditor, didn't have the courage to stand up for herself, and all she could do was smile awkwardly and run away. Even when her boss asked her about it, she was like, oh, it's nothing. I don't want to get anyone into trouble. Like, that is really sad. So this is a friendly reminder to not be scared to offend people. You don't owe anyone anything, and you need to stick up for yourself. It is really important, and it can save your life. sadly, that was it for tonight's scary stories. Thank you guys so much for choosing to hang out with me again tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to leave a comment down below and give the video a thumbs up. If you would like to be notified of any new videos being uploaded, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. I will see you guys for next week's video. But now, all there is left for me to do is to wish you a very good night. Sleep well, sleep